between what's convenient and what's right is integrity.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we can look at that. We can talk about that, right? If you think of in math, there is a series of numbers that we call the integers number, right? The integer numbers, and the integers numbers are numbers that are whole. They're not fractions. They're not decimals. They're whole number. It's just one thing, right? So integrity, right? And integrity, right? What I will say on integrity and character, Steve, is that integrity is what I call a constant effort to integrate your words, your deeds, and your actions as one. Okay?
Wow.
When your words, your deeds, and your actions become one, then you are a person of integrity. But more importantly, you are a person of integrity when your private life and your public life is the same thing.
Yeah, hey, listen, Mark Twain says what you just said. A man's character may be learned from the adjectives which he habitually uses in conversation.
There you go.
That's Mark Twain. Mark Twain.
There you go. Yeah, so he's saying in the attributes, here's what I would say. A person of character, Steve, a person of character doesn't need supervision. A person of character doesn't need the police. A person of character doesn't need for you to check up on him or her to see if she's doing the right thing. Why? Because that person is a person of character. A person of character, Steve, will lock himself up in the prison of his own convictions. Okay? A person of character will lock himself in the prison of their own convictions and throw away the keys, right? Because that person is convicted of that character, right? It lives by conviction, and there is a big distinction between a conviction and beliefs, right? There is a huge distinction that we can talk about later on. We can expand on that. But, a belief, it's something that you argue about.
How about this? Okay. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packer quarterback.
Yeah.
Would you believe that he's going to give a piece of wisdom here that's the same thing you just said? Authenticity is everything. You have to wake up every day and look in the mirror, and you want to be proud of the person who's looking back at you. And you can only do that if you're being honest with yourself and being a person of high character. You have an opportunity every single day to write that story of your life.
Absolutely. So, you're just making so many things come to my head. Now, you talk about Aaron Rodgers setting that quote, looking at the person in the mirror, right? So yeah. Let me ask you a question, Steve, on that, looking at a person in the mirror. How would you feel if when you look yourself in the mirror, when you see yourself in the mirror, instead of seeing your face, you saw your character? How would you feel? How would you feel if when you look at when you go in front of the mirror, instead of looking at your face, you saw your character? How would that feel? What would you see? Don't answer the question. Don't answer. I'm just throwing the question out there. I'm just throwing.
Did you ever see the movie A Portrait of Dorian Gray? This is a joke. That's the guy that was this guy that for some reason he lived to be 500 years old, and he painted a portrait that was above the fireplace, and he lived to be 500 years old. Everybody died over 500 years. This guy never aged, and at the end he was a very evil person. And at the end, somebody figured out what the secret was to his immortality. And they took the picture off of the mantelpiece and they threw it into the fireplace. And when it burned, his true self came out, which was as evil can be. So that's not me looking in the mirror, but that person did not have character because he was just an evil person that used everything around him. And that's what the point of the movie was. The story was a classic, The Portrait of Dorian Gray.
There you go. So that story that you're saying, that person was a character, but he didn't have character. And that's something that I said last week, right? It's not the same to be a character than to have character. Because why? A character is a sacrifice for principles, right? It's when you sacrifice yourself to protect your principles, or your principles protect you. Many times, a person of character will lose their friends, right? Will lose their best friends to protect their principles, right? Hey, Steve, I don't know what do you do when you hear someone say honesty is my best policy? Have you heard that before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So you heard many people say honesty my best policy. When a person says honesty my best policy, I start running. I start running. I go away. Why? Because if honesty is your best policy, that means that you have a second best, a third best, a fourth best, a fifth best, right? A person of character says honesty is my only policy. This is not semantics. This is just real truth, right? You can be two things in just one. In fact, Steve, I like the fact that you are a Jewish descent and that you have a deep understanding of the Bible. And there is a powerful statement that people from your heritage say is that the Lord our God is
one.
So when you study the word holy, right? When you study the word,
you want in Hebrew, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
There you go. Right. And so thank you for that. I need to practice that many times in order to repeat what you just said as beautifully as you just said it. But in essence, right, when God is saying be one, right, or be holy, what he's telling you is be one. Right? Be holy because I am holy. Be one because I am one. Right? And that's something that is very, very important to understand. The Lord our God is God. So see, here's the thing. Many times we are attracted by charisma. We follow someone that has charisma, and that's why politicians specifically they struggle. They struggle to be a person of character. Why? Because charisma is based on popularity. Your charisma is simply, it is based on how popular you are, or it talks about how popular you are. But character actually will protect you. Is who you are, right? So don't follow charisma, Steve. Seek character. Don't be attracted by a person of charisma or that is charismatic. Rather, just lead or seek character, right? And this is something I said last week, right? I told you last week, lead with your life. Lead with your life. A person of character will lead with your life. Why that is so important for you that you are listening to me? Let me tell you something. You must lead with your life. Why? Because whatever you're selling, whatever you're teaching, whatever you're talking about, if it doesn't work for you, it's not worth teaching to anybody else. It's just that. It's just simply that, right? Character protects your words. Character protects your words. Simply that. So, Steve, just to give you some ideas here. It's important that we do not confuse gifts with talent. Okay? Gift is one thing. Talent or character is another thing. And gift will never protect you. In fact, your gift will destroy you if you don't have character. An example of that I can give you Samson, right? Samson had a gift, but he lacked character. And his character led him to die blind, right? To die blind. Yeah. Because he lacked character.
At least he made the right choice. At least he made the right choice in the end.
Yeah, but he did not, he made the right choice, yet, he ended in the wrong position. He was not able to maximize his potential because of his lack of character, right?
Yes.
He could have ended way better, right? He could have ended way better.
No question.
He could have ended in power like Joseph, right? Because he had character. Joseph had character, right? Now, I'm glad that you one of the things that attracts me to your show, Steve, is that you very openly talk about the Bible. Okay, so let me tell you this. I'm gonna be very brazen and say this. I know this is your 87th show, and I very respectfully will say the following to a degree, and I know that you will understand me. I think this is the most powerful show your audience have heard. because in very rare times we talk about character in our lives, and we actually try to develop character in our life. So here's why I'm telling you this, Steve. You are about to get some revelation. So sit up straight and if you're taking some notes, this is what you want to take some notes on. So because I'm going to show you something here very, very important. In the book of Genesis, in chapter 1, and specifically verse 26, God creates man, right? And he says, verse 26, chapter 1, Genesis, he says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so they may rule over the fish, the sea, and the birds, and the sky, over the livestock. They can rule over the wild animals, right? They can rule over the wild animals and over all creatures that move along the ground. Let's go back to that. Let's take a minute to evaluate this. Let us make mankind at our image. Image is a synonym of what? Character. So image is character. Image is a word for character, right? At our likeness.
Yes.
So here's my point, Steve. Here's my point. God gave men character before he gave them dominion. Let's read this again so you see it right there. Let us make mankind.
We were made in his image, so he put us here to be like him, and he made no mistakes. I said that at the end of last week's show, too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we were given dominion before. We were given image or a character before we were given dominion. And we get so caught up many times looking for power, but we don't have character to support the power that we want. Okay? And more importantly, you see, as Satan, right? Satan came up to Eve and tempted her, right? And many times, Steve, we talk about the word temptation as if it was a negative word. In fact, temptation is not a negative word. Temptation is a good word because temptation is the monitor of your character, okay? Temptation is the monitor for your character. Your character is as strong as the temptation that you fall for, okay? Last week I told you that, you are as stuck as the secrets that you hide, and I can reference David when he said, my bones, right? My bones were decaying, and I was getting old because I was hiding my sins, right? So your character is as strong as the temptation that you fall for. Now, what is temptation? You read Romans 12 second. It says, be transformed. Do not be conformed to this world, to the patterns of this world. Rather, be transformed by the renewal of your mind, by testing, right? And use the word testing. It says the word testing there. What is to tempt? To tempt is to test for weakness, is to temper with, right? The word temper is to test for weakness. So what did Satan do? Satan came to Eve, and he tempted her with something that she already was. Because God said, let us make mankind according to our image and our likeness. So when Satan approaches Eve and Satan says, you will be like God, she already was like God.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he wanted to be God. He didn't want to just be like God. He wanted us to worship him. And that's the whole problem.
There you go. And she already was like God because she was made according to his image and his likeness. So she was already like God. But the problem is that she became, at some point, I don't know when, but she became ignorant of who she really was. And Satan tempted her for weakness, and found a weakness in her character because she didn't know who she really was. So in other words, ignorance can kill you.
Oh, wow. Right? Hey, can I be a good student and raise my hand for a second and
go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
We got about 3 or 4 minutes, but what I want to say is this. When you were talking about created in his image, and we came back to that and his likeness, I just want to point out something that I think a lot of people are thinking about, but maybe don't see something sometimes. When we talk about created in his image and his likeness, we're not talking about a physical appearance. We're talking about in the way we are, and it's the character that you've described this whole show. It's who we are. The way we are is like him. His perfect qualities of goodness, and I got to quote, goodness is about character, integrity, honesty, kindness, generosity, moral courage, and the like. More than anything else, it is about how we treat other people. It's the fruits of the Spirit. But what I'm saying is, it's not a physical appearance.